Hello, dear friends. My name is Clive Thompson, and here is Clive Jr.
Hello.
Today is the 30th of December, 2025. It's Tuesday. It's the last trading day of the year in many markets. Today, we're going to be talking about something called the global currency reset, which is coming for sure.
The global currency reset.
The global currency reset. Well, there's two parts. The first part is the currency reset. A currency reset is when they change the currency for a new one. And they would do that in a sort of emergency or hyperinflation or a bond crisis or a currency crisis. And when it's global, it doesn't just happen in one country, it happens in all the countries within a very short space of time. And we're going to talk about the global currency reset. Now, it could come next year, it could come anytime. So, a question which many of you will ask is, when is it coming and when will I know it's coming? And we'll talk about that as well. But it's a bit like life. You're going to die for sure, and the global currency reset is going to come for sure. You just don't know when, and you don't know when you're going to die. And so in life, you think you're going to live for a long time, no matter what your age is. You don't expect to die tomorrow or next week or next year or 10 years from now or 20 years from now, depending on your age. You expect to live for a very long time. And then, guess what? Suddenly, unexpectedly, and without warning, along comes a disease or an accident. And suddenly, everything you've learned, just when you were getting used to how things work, gets taken away in a flash. Well, the global currency reset will be like that. It will come without any warning. Nobody will know it's going to happen until it's too late. It's like being told by your doctor, you've got a month to live. And you then panic, but it's too late to put your affairs in order because there's too much to organize. But what you can now take some action now to prepare yourself for what's coming, not knowing when it's going to come. But what the action you take will be good whether it comes or not next year or the year after or the year after that or 10 years from now. But there are some additional actions you'll be able to take. See the time. There are some additional actions you'll be able to take in the days preceding the currency reset if you happen to know it's coming. But I don't think anyone's going to tell you it's coming. And don't forget, everyone else will be trying to take the same kind of actions at the same time as you. So there'll be a bit of a panic all at once if you know it's coming. So what is a global currency reset and how will we know it's coming? Well, we all know that the governments of this world are massively over indebted. It's like a family with a credit card. They've borrowed too much money, and every month they spend more money than they can collect in taxes. Sorry, not more. Sorry, the government's spending more money than it collects in taxes. The family's spending more money than it earns. Then, one day, the debt comes due and you have to repay it, but you don't have the capital to repay, so you borrow more capital to repay, and you borrow more interest to repay. Same with the government. Every year, it never, ever repays its debt. It borrows more just to repay the debt. So every year, the debt goes up because the government borrows more and more, and the debt has reached unsustainable levels. And there's many, many famous people who've acknowledged that this debt level that we have in the world, in the Western world, I'm not singling out any one country, it's broadly similar in most Western countries. Everyone knows that the debt level is unsustainable, but the hope and the plan is to keep kicking the can down the road so that the problem will kind of be pushed onto your successors or another year. But one day the crisis will come. And when that crisis comes, and I believe this is what's likely to happen the next time, they will issue a new currency at the time in emergency, and the plans must be already laid for doing this, and so they can do it very quickly. I mean, obviously, one of the ways they could issue a new currency is to implement the central bank digital currency, known as CBDC. They could bring that out in a flash. But when they bring out the new currency in a crisis, because they have to, they will probably say everybody can change a certain amount, let's say 1,000 or 10,000 or 50,000 or 20,000, some figure. but no more, because they don't want you using the old currency to speculate against the country. So the new currency will have some restrictions on it. It's a bit like the old ration coupons we used to have after the Second World War. Many countries in Europe had what's called ration coupons, where if you wanted to buy a pound of butter, you had to have a ration coupon to go with it. What that meant was it didn't matter whether you were a millionaire or a billionaire, you couldn't buy your pound of butter unless you had a ration coupon. So what was the real currency at the time? The only one you could spend was the ration coupon. Of course, you had to have the real money too, but you couldn't spend your real money unless you had the ration coupon to go with it. Well, if we get into a currency crisis or a bond market crisis, a debt crisis, or a civil unrest or something like that, there will be some sort of rationing of the currency in the form of a new currency coming in, where you can't change the old currency to the new currency except within certain limits and under certain rules. Now, the problem with that is that we'll get to a situation where those who have a large amount of the old currency suddenly are very frustrated because they can't use their old currency for anything useful. The government will be delighted because all of the government debt is repayable in the old currency, which will now not be usable by anybody. So to all intents and purposes, the old currency will become defunct. Of course, it will have a promise that one day we'll lift the restriction and you'll be able to change your old currency for the new currency. But you kind of know that day will never really come. So on day one, when they bring in this new currency, the old currency will probably trade on the black market, on the secondary market, at 70 cents on the dollar. 3 months later, you'll be lucky to get 20 cents on the dollar. And a year later, you probably get 0 on the dollar. So if you have a large balance in bonds or cash, you might find that money's undeployable. And even if you think you don't own bonds, I can tell you that your pension plan almost certainly does. So almost everybody who's got any money in the bank of any size will be a loser. Now, if the amount of money you've got in the bank is less than whatever they allow you to change, you lose nothing. So if they say you can change 20,000, for example, but you've only got 500 in the bank, you'll be fine. You'll be neither better off nor worse off, and your salary will be paid in the new currency, your spending will be in the new currency, your taxes will be in the new currency, and you won't really see a difference. But if you happen to have more than, let's say the limit's 10,000, and you have more than 10,000 in the bank, you're suddenly going to find that the rest of your money is undeployable because it's not allowed to be changed. It's become defunct. So what can you do if you have some savings to protect yourself? Well, first of all, bear in mind that anything that you can touch and feel and hold will still be there. But can you give me some ideas of things you could touch or feel or hold or use which will still be there no matter what they do to the money?
Gold.
Gold, yes, that's an excellent answer. Silver, yes. Anything else?
A house.
A house, yes, excellent. Buildings.
Yeah.
Something what do you use if you go to the workshop?
Uh.
Tools. A bicycle, a car. Basically, anything you own which is physical will still be there. It's not currency. But a bank balance you won't be able to use. But what about stocks and shares, equities like Apple shares? What do you think is going to happen to them? Do you think Apple will still be there?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
It will. It'll still be doing business, but it'll be doing business in the new currency. And the consequence of doing business in the new currency is that it will still be there. It'll still be selling telephones and computers and things like that. So Apple will be a survivor. I mean, not only Apple, but almost every company which makes things will be a survivor. They just won't be using the old currency. And in fact, all of these companies should be better off because almost every company on the planet has borrowed money. So if they have net borrowings, in other words, they borrowed more than they have cash, those net borrowings will be in a defunct currency, i.e. worthless. And if they're worthless, the company won't owe so much money, so it'll be better off. So it'll be able to spend money more easily. So it'll be able to now borrow again in the new currency to build factories, employ workers, and things like that. So it'll be very good for the economy. It'll also be very good for the economy because the government, which used to have this massive debt of 100% of GDP, will be able to start again in the new currency with a debt to GDP ratio of 0. So they'll be able to borrow money quickly to bail out your pension plan. So if it's a reasonable, normal-sized pension plan, you'll probably get bailed out to some extent, provided it owns bonds of the same country where you live. They're not going to bail out probably foreign bonds, and foreign countries won't bail out foreign investors. But they'll also bail out old age pensioners, probably some sort of universal basic income. But if, on the other hand, you're a fairly well-off person, you'll find that you will not get compensated for your large bond holdings or cash holdings. You might get partially compensated. So how do you benefit from this? Well, make sure that your assets are real, tangible assets, gold, silver, property, equities, things which will still be there as we get to the other side of the currency reset. Now, I'm going to stop here, but do you have any questions before we go on? And then I might see if I can think of anything else to say.
No.
So let's just sum up. The losers will be those with large cash balances and with bonds, and the winners will be those with tangible, useful assets such as equities, not bonds, equities, gold, silver, property, tools, or anything which can't be taken away from you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Clive Thompson. I'd like to say thank you very much. And what do they have to do if they like this sort of video?
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Bye-bye now.